This is the Prefabrication stream, where now Devin Sapka and Patrick Spink will explore how Allplan solutions for prefabrication and construction boost productivity and enable smarter workflows.
Hello, and welcome to our session, Building Smarter, Maximizing Productivity with Allplan Solutions for Prefabrication. We're excited to have you with us as we dive into how digital tools are changing the way we approach prefabrication. I'm David Zapka, Product Manager for Prefabrication, focusing on all things detailing and fabricating, from our steel solution SDS2 to Allplan precast detailing, and Manufacton for all your production management needs. I bring years of hands-on experience in steel and concrete detailing, and have worked closely with teams to streamline workflows and boost project efficiency. Let me quickly introduce Patrick Spink. Patrick, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, Dave, nowhere near as exciting and in depth as you have, but I'll certainly do a quick introduction about myself. I lead the sales team, or not sales team, the sales efforts here at Allplan with Manufacton. I've got a real strong background in the AEC ecosystem, been in it really my entire career, and have a real strong focus on offsite construction and help contractors move more of their work from the job site into a factory.
Great. So let's jump in here and hear about how SDS2, Precast, and Manufacton are powering this new era of construction. We'll kick off with some of the basics. Firstly, what exactly is prefabrication, and why does it matter in today's construction world?
Yeah, that's a big conversation, right? What is prefab, and what does it mean to the different people in different industries? So really, prefabrication means building components like precast structures, steel beams and columns, wall panels, moving it away from the construction site itself and into a shop or a factory where those parts are shipped to the job site for quick assembly. This is an enormous transformation for the industry and improving a much safer and a much more efficient means of actually doing the construction itself. While it has a common practice in both precast and steel industries for quite some time, project complexity and shortened time lives is really driving the efficiency or driving the need across all of the general contractors, subcontractors. MEP contractors are now starting to fabricate things offsite. Electrical components, conduit runs, racks, mechanical skids, piping assemblies, really anything that used to be done on site, they're actually trying to move it to a factory or a shop to do things more efficiently and safer. Of course, with any industry transformation like we're going through right now, we're going to have some new challenges that are being presented. Considerations now must be kind of taking a look at it. What is this shop capacity that we have? What kind of throughput, coordination of inventory, purchasing, and shipping? One of our customers actually said, we're not building buildings in a building. It's really moving towards a manufacturing concept. And that's really what we're doing with Manufacton, is helping those customers move to a job, from a job site to a factory.
Yeah, very good. That makes a lot of sense. And then the next kind of topic along with that is something we hear more and more about, which is DFMA. So how does DFMA fit into all of this? I guess.
Yeah, we love our analogy or our letters that represent words, right? So DFMA stands for Design for Manufacturing and Assembly. It really means designing each piece, not just to work on paper, but really make it more easy to build or construct in a factory and put things together in a much more seamless and easier way when it gets to the job site. It's about planning on the front end with the assembly on the back end. So we're not really just saying, hey, yeah, this looks like it's going to work really well. It's, hey, it works well, but how are we going to actually build it in the factory, disassemble it, ship it to the job site, and reassemble it?
Yeah. So let's bring in some real world examples a little bit. So steel fabricators have been doing this for a long time. So it's not a new process for them, only using some different terms that encompass any building materials and trades. So really difficult to build those giant steel beams or columns that are super heavy on site. You can't really cut those with just little tools or anything on site. So definitely does require a lot more planning, and they've been doing this for a long time. With SDS2, we automate the tricky parts of the detailing and planning that out. Things like connection design. We have tremendous flexibility for creating standardized parts that adhere to the shop preferences. And it ensures steel parts are ready to be fabricated and fit together smoothly on site. And that's exactly what DFMA really looks to accomplish.
So what about precast concrete? Is it
Yeah.
different or is it similar?
Yeah, so precast producers have also been utilizing these practices for quite some time now. So again, can't really pour the precast on site all that efficiently. So, we're doing that in that side as well. And our Allplan precast creates those detailed models and data for the concrete elements as well. Things like walls, slabs, stairs. So everything is accurate for factory production and assembly, translates into faster builds and fewer errors. And that's just the design and detailing aspect of the process. So then we tie manufacturing into this. How does that work together with everything to ensure it can all get built, Patrick?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the whole essence behind DFMA, correct? And when you mention standardized parts, manufacturing can really maintain a catalog of those parts and assemblies. So, when you identify inside of SDS2 one of the standard components or standard builds that you're actually doing, SDO2 can identify that, and then a work order would be created inside of manufacturing. And the system knows not only the amount of time it would require to build that component, it would know the materials that are needed, associated shop drawings, any QA/QC documents that you might want in that work order, all streamlining fabrication and ensuring that everything fits together really smoothly off-site as well as on-site. When it gets to the job site, we know it's going to work together. And really, it provides everyone on the project team to see in real time where those components are. The process from design through delivery. A lot of the customers that we're speaking with today are using Excel spreadsheets, but they still get the call from the field, hey, where's my stuff? Is this being done? And we're going to get it to the job site on time. So manufacturing brings it all together and gives visibility for the entire organization to see how things are moving along.
Great. So in short, prefabrication, DFMA, these make construction smarter, more reliable, and Allplan solutions bring it all to life, from the digital models for the detailing right through production in the shop through to installation on site.
Exactly.
And then let's take a few minutes here to focus on steel specifically. So I'd like to discuss a little bit what makes SDS2 itself so special for the steel detailers and fabricators. I already mentioned the automated connection design capabilities. With SDS2, in those connection design capabilities, we recognize framing situations as you create a model, and it eliminates the tedious tasks of assigning connections manually. Designing those connections to the shop's preferences is a huge benefit, especially as labor costs continue to go up and up and up, and those shortages of labor continue to be a problem. The more efficient we make the detailing, the more efficient we can make the shop as well. And then in addition to that connection design, miscellaneous steel always is a very tedious task. So things like railings, ladders, stairs, SDS2 takes the pain away with automated tools for things like that as well. And then it's all the little things that a typical person doesn't think about or understand goes into the building process. Things like automating the piece marks to identify all of those assemblies and those parts, creating the drawings and making that drawing production much more efficient, and then the data for the shop integrations to send to the automated equipment. Now, as technology advances in the shops, our detailing becomes ever important as well, both for the machines in the shop and then also the production management for manufacturing and other tools for production management. And so, yeah, just being able to automate all of that technology and complement that technology to make sure that we're feeding the automation that the fabricators need as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And when you talk about miscellaneous steel, so the steel area is something that's kind of new to me specifically, right? So when I hear miscellaneous steel, I appreciate the detail that you gave there. It's a stairwell, handrail, those types of things. And really, those are phenomenal use cases for manufacturing because it's a standard item, right? It's a handrail. Everything pretty much is the exact same except for the distance and the bends and the turns. But for the most part, it knows everything about it, right? What size handrail are we using? How far apart are the vertical components that are in it? So the bill of material can be generated really kind of automatically, right? It's like, hey, we're not having to go in and build this bill of material each and every time. So it's a standard shop drawings that are sent there, right? Fabrication steps that are required to put these things together are all really automated. And manufacturing, again, you've got a catalog of items and say, hey, this is what we need. This is what it needs to be on site. hit go, all that information gets pushed down to the shop floor, and they're off and running. They're not really needing to wait on a lot of information to get put into Manufacon or entered into an Excel spreadsheet that, hey, this is what we need it, this is when we need it by. It's simply the SDS2 user, the detailer says, hey, this is when it needs to be put on site, and work orders are created. So it's a great use case.
Yeah. And then we can talk, that's traditional SDS2 and what we've been doing for a long time. Then we can talk a little bit about how SDS2 here very recently has advanced and what we'll be seeing in our upcoming release. So one of the things I mentioned already is technology in the shop is always evolving. That means that changes the requirements for how things are detailed and what a detailer has to provide. And we recognize that here at Allplan. It also means that detailers need tools that make them more efficient to keep up with that new technology in the shop as well, to put more production out to keep up with that automation and that technology. One of the things SDS2 2026 does is we now design connections with slots in the web of beams. This avoids having to provide a bunch of expensive plate washers at connections where more tolerance is required, especially see that at areas where we're framing to concrete, embed plates, things like that, and then our connection materials actually serve as the plate washers. Another area is we intelligently group connections. This condenses the design calculations for a streamlined review process. And then there's things like batch editing of sheet revisions can save you hours on making updates then. Every weld in the model can now be adjusted precisely exactly as it needs to be to make sure that we feed the new welding technology in the shop. Performance wise, we've significantly improved loading and performance of the way that people interact with the drawings in SDS2. And then another thing we also understand is that new building methods are constantly used. New products are always being introduced, and this changes the demand to more than just steel. So this is why we've expanded SDS2's capabilities to handle any material type. So we can now do aluminum, fiberglass, reinforced plastics, anything else you can think of that would be used in construction. And then profiles are all sorts of different profiles out there for these products. So we can now import DWG files, just a 2D profile, and make that extrusion based on that 2D profile. So that gives us pretty much endless flexibility for adding any type of cladding, decking, timber. Yeah. And just to summarize that up, we're providing expanded opportunities with those new material types. We've also expanded the connection design into including the German design code, so we can now better serve the German market.
So it sounds like precast producers and detailers tend to face many of the same challenges as steel fabricators. Tell us a little bit about Allplan Precast and how it solves those challenges.
Yeah, so I would say, just like steel fabrication, technology for precast in the shop continues to evolve as well, and to make precast production more efficient than ever. So again, means that those precast detailers have to keep up with that increasing efficiency as well to provide, enough drawings and enough NC files to keep up with that equipment in the shop again, stay on schedule so we're not holding everybody up.
So it sounds, again, similar processes to steel. Anything about Allplan Precast and how it enables detailers to increase their productivity?
Yeah, so what we've added new here for the 2026 release again, we have a new rule-based dimensioning system. So what that means is Allplan Precast will automatically generate associated dimensions precisely to the production requirements. This minimizes repetitive manual tasks of adding the same thing over and over again, and that also reduces the risk for human error. In addition to that, we have a customizable bill of materials that's essential to those precast workflows, managed through a more unified engine than it ever had been before, and we store that information directly on the elements in the model, enabling very easy transfer via IFC files or other methods for just broad integration to the shop. And then again, performance. There's always that performance topic. How do we get more performance out of this stuff? Always a critical piece to the detailing solutions. And we've redesigned a good portion of our user experience here for precast connections specifically to boost that productivity. And it allows interactive modifications to make the changes needed in the model much more intuitive. A very flexible and hierarchical mark numbering system has been introduced. So this solves mark number management of precast elements and formwork. And then, something we haven't touched on yet, but there's always this topic of sustainability and building more efficiently and green and the carbon emissions, right? So one of the things we've done here in Allplan for Precast 2026 is we've implemented a common solution for filigree slabs, where we introduce the voids into the slab to use a lot less concrete, reducing the carbon emissions for those concrete slabs.
Yeah, it's very cool. That's what we're seeing on the manufacturing side, right? A lot of the owners are actually pushing for more and more stuff to go into a factory, so it's reducing carbon emissions, and then fewer people on the job site, which is a big benefit from that perspective. So sounds really cool, Dave. Sounds like SDS2 and precast, you're going to be providing some cool benefits for both steel and precast detailers.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff that we have in there. So, and then, when detailing is complete and that information gets handed off to the fabricator, Manufacton provides a great solution to enhance those operations and the workflows there. So can you give us a little bit more information about Manufacton and what that solution provides?
Yeah, you bet. So really, precast producers, steel fabricators, really anybody creating any type of a component in a factory, when it comes time to deliver to the job site, they face the similar challenges, right? Once the drawings are complete, and then kind of thrown over the wall to the production team. It's like they wash their hands of it. It's your issue now, and then the production team has to try and figure out what the heck we're going to do, right? So there's really very frequently a disconnect between the design, procurement, shop, and field. Nobody really understands how the other one's progressing through the process. They just know that their timeline is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and they have no insight in terms of how this thing's actually moving along, as well as the general contractor and the owner. They also have no real visibility in terms of how this thing's actually being put together. This is a huge waste of time and leads to a lot of incorrect builds and missed deadlines, right? So no visibility in terms of how things are going to be produced, and giving no one really any insight in terms of when things are going to get on site really causes a lot of chaos. And manufacturing really bridges that gap, keeping everyone in the organization in sync. The shop's confident that the drawings are going to be there when they're supposed to be there. In the building, on the current versions of what is actually produced or being designed, they're not working on the stuff that they actually hit print on Monday. They're working on the current documentation. Procurement knows what materials are available, what's being consumed, and what's actually work in progress. The shop knows what to produce, when it needs to be on site, and how to fabricate it. And the field doesn't need to call the shop foreman and ask where his delivery is. So on top of that, you gain the benefit of knowing the labor hours weeks in advance, or maybe months in advance, giving the opportunity to really balance the workload in the shop and understanding your labor requirements for the foreseeable future. The industry is moving away from the on-premise software that burdens IT and the servers, backups, installing batches or patches. It's just really a very old school way of thinking about software. And companies are really looking for software as a service, or SaaS, because it's easy to set up, easy to use, and quick to deliver value. We're seeing studies that show that SaaS deployments often reduce operational costs by up to 20 or 30% annually, which is that's a pretty big chunk of change, right? When you start thinking about setup and training costs, up to 30% lower. You're not training the entire organization, entire piece of software for them to know just what they need to use. You're just training them that one specific component of how to use it. And Manufacton was built in the cloud for the cloud, and it wasn't just a desktop application that was ported to the cloud. So it really delivers everything that the cloud, delivering everything that our competitors offer without the headache of on-prem software.
Yeah, all good information. All sounds very exciting again. So yeah, we have three solutions, all tackle really big challenges for detailers and then for fabricators as well, whether that's specializing in precast, in steel, MEP, or modular building too. Then that's a wrap. Thanks everyone for joining, and please continue to follow Allplan as we strive to continue providing best-in-class solutions for prefabrication.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Dave.
Next, in our dedicated What's New in sessions, Allplan experts will present the highlights of each of the Allplan solutions, including Allplan, the comprehensive design-to-build platform for AEC professionals; Allplan Civil, our solution for advanced infrastructure workflows; Allplan Precast, our dedicated solution for automated precast walls and slabs fabrication; SIA, for 3D structural analysis and design; Frilo, our solution for component-based structural analysis and foundation design; SDS2, our solution for structural steel detailing and connection design; and Manufacton, our solution for fabrication management. Choose the product stream you prefer and don't miss the latest innovations that will drive the future of architectural design, engineering design, infrastructure design, prefabrication, steel detailing, collaboration, and construction. After these dedicated product sessions, don't miss best practice examples from real customer projects and learn how Allplan supports them through superior workflows across building and infrastructure projects.